Well, today we talked a lot about confidence. We talked about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to experience the most growth. We talked about networking and how important networking is in order to advance your career. We talked about education, how important it is to be a sponge and to continue to educate yourself. And it was wonderful because we had three panelists that came from different points of view. And what's always wonderful about that is it touches somebody in the audience on some level. So I found it really interesting, and I learned myself. It was great. First of all, they need to educate themselves. They need to be as educated as possible because, as Rick DeVore said earlier on the panel, competence comes first. And then after competence, then they start to look for candidates with which that meet that competence. And I think second is confidence. It's very important. It was discussed earlier today. Don't eliminate yourself from the game. You may get eliminated by somebody else, but don't you eliminate yourself. And that's all about having confidence in yourself and what you want to do. Yes, I didn't really have access to a lot of CEOs. I was new in my career, but I noticed that I was hungry for nonprofit work and I was asked to do nonprofit work. So what I realized is a lot of the CEOs that I wanted to have access to were board members on nonprofit organizations. So as I got involved in the nonprofit organizations, I became a board member and then was a colleague or peer to that CEO, and I was able to establish the relationships over time with many CEOs because of the nonprofit work that I've done.
Well, my role in today's event was really to bring the perspective, I think, of almost 5 decades in the workforce as a professional woman and to give people an understanding of where we are right now. And the reality is that women have been stalled for several decades. And even worse than that, the United States is actually dropping in the world compared to other developed countries regarding equality between men and women. And we have actually dropped from the top 20 in terms of equity between men and women we are now 43rd position in the world. And for a country of we're number 1 in the world in terms of education, equal education between males and females, but to be 43rd in the world in terms of women being in leadership roles and decision-making roles, there's something really wrong with that. So I hope my role today was a wake-up call. Well, it's tremendous in terms of the progress that women are making, and that over my professional lifetime, we have seen the numbers of women graduating from college and getting graduate degrees increasing dramatically. When you think about the fact that 100 years ago, women were not even allowed to attend universities and law schools in this country. So we have now moved in 100 years to the fact that the millennial women are the first generation of women in the history of the world to have more college and graduate degrees than their male peers. So this is the talent pool. And for us to waste that talent is the Achilles heel of the United States right now.
Excellent. Now, to keep with that train of thought, talking about the ladies that have gotten themselves the education, what are some words of advice you would share for the up-and-coming ladies, the youth coming up, about what they need to do to grab those leadership positions and hold on to them?
Well, first, I want the next generation of highly educated, aspiring women to go faster than my generation did, to get the confidence that they need, that they belong there, that they don't have to be 100% qualified for a position before they go after it. So I want them to go faster than we did and take their place at the tables just as young men do, that know they belong there and don't wait to be invited to the leadership dance. I would say something culturally about women. You know, our boys are taught that they have to get in there and fight for things from the time they're very young, including, you know, asking someone to the dance or asking someone to marry them. And women are supposed to wait to be noticed or wait to be attracted. And I would say no one is going to invite you to the leadership dance. We have to invite ourselves, and we have to invite and insist on significant numbers of women in every leadership role. Sure, and I would say also that Murray Feldman and I go back many years. We worked together at Channel 2, and it was CBS here in Detroit, and so he's a dear friend and a fantastic ally of women as well. In terms of my book, it came out for the first time 5 years ago because it was very clear to me that we had now become a nation of millions of high-achieving women, but we were not moving into leadership roles in appropriate numbers. And so it was really like, what does it take for women to power up all these ready, educated, experienced women to move into leadership roles in big numbers. So that's why I wrote my book. And it's really the graduate work, let's say, for women who've already leaned in. If you're a high achiever and you believe your leadership material, this is the graduate work. And the discouraging news is that we've actually lost ground in the last 5 years since my book came out. So it's more relevant than ever. And in terms of what's going on even today, a hot topic today in terms of Me Too, one of the biggest things that's going on is the talent. The pipeline is loaded right now. It's no longer about filling the pipeline. It is too often, women are still being driven out of the workplace and of leadership roles by everything from sexual harassment that we know is blatant everywhere, but even just unwelcoming work environments. If you can imagine as a man, how fun it would be to work all the time where you are the only man, with all women all the time. Are you capable of doing it? Probably. Would it bring out the best in you? I doubt it. I doubt it. And so my goal is we need to get to a place where we have balanced workplaces between men and women. Right, of course I have a tremendous sense of pride, and my father was a sports broadcaster in this town, Vince Doyle, and my dad was an incredible ally to me through some very, very difficult situations that we faced outside the locker rooms and inside those locker rooms in terms of people just not wanting us there. And that year was 1978, so we were opening the sports locker rooms in terms of female journalists having equal access to athletes. 1978 through 84 was when I was doing it. And so, yes, Jim, I'm encouraged. I mean, it makes me smile to see the number of women playing sports and covering sports, but I'm also terribly discouraged because the numbers are so small. And even when we had this incredible breakthrough where we had a woman, announcing the first NFL game, you had Twitter blowing up and social media blowing up in terms of men basically saying, oh, I don't want to listen to her voice, I can't, we don't want to hear her, all this negative pushback. So as far as we've come, it's still a very hostile, unwelcoming work environment for women trying to cover sports.
I'm going to stop here and tell you.
It's all about women in leadership, and the fact is, as Ann Doyle, a former journalist and sports reporter and elected official and global speaker on the topic currently, pointed out that the United States isn't just stagnant when it comes to the gender gap in leadership. We're falling behind tremendously worldwide in a survey of 144 countries. So that's one of the things we address today. And on an individual level, how do you combat that? What do you do to make it better? Denise Illich, president of Illich Enterprises, was with us. And one of the things she talked about is you have to have confidence. You have to have a network. And a network doesn't mean people that are just like you. They're people that are above your level, below your level, different kinds of people who you can network with and form relationships with to move ahead. So you have to have that confidence. You also have to have humility, and you have to be able to go out there and get what you want. One of the other panelists we had was Rick DeVore. He is the president of PNC Bank here in Michigan and southeastern Michigan and Detroit. And they have a unique program where they certify their employees as business advocates for women. And what that is all about is trying to help women move to the areas where they aspire. And it's not giving them special treatment. What it is it's seeing the good aspects of their professional life and moving them in a direction where they can benefit from that. The result has been more than 60% of their employees are now women, and they have, and I think maybe close to half of their managers are women as well. So they've done very well with that. The people in the audience were very receptive. They had great questions for everybody, and I'm sure they walked away learning some new insight into what they can do to improve their lot and to move themselves ahead.
Excellent. And just the final question, Leaders and Innovators is part of an ongoing program every month. Can you tell us about next month's topic, which is sexual harassment in the workplace?
It's harassment in the workplace, and we're going to talk about sexual harassment, but we're also going to broaden it out because of certain things that have happened recently. Let's just put it that way. It's all about what's happening in the workplace and how we have a respect, or in some cases a disrespect, for the people who we work with, work for their political beliefs. Maybe some of us work for bullies. There are many studies showing that the bully boss is rampant out there in the United States. So what we are going to do is talk about all kinds of workplace issues and workplace harassment, and we're going to try to help people combat it and get around it and basically, if you will, work with it. That's November the 16th at Lawrence Technological University.
Thank you, Murray.